Okay, hi folks. Why don't we work a little bit through Unit 5? So Unit 5 uh, uses a data file as an example file. So I'm going to X out of this opening dialog, and I'm going to open up that data file. The data file is already in SPSS language. It's already a SPSS data file, which means the extension is .sav. And so I'm going to go. I don't have to import it like I would with an Excel file. So I'm going to go to New. I'm going to File, then Open Data. It's on my desktop. Lesson 19 data file 1.sav. I'm going to hit Open. Okay, let's see. Got my trusty textbook right here. Creating variables. Here's the data set. Creating variables. Creating an overall. Casey wants to compute scores on the positive attitude toward eating scale. To create a total scale score by summing across. She wants to create a total scale score by summing across all 5 items. Okay, so it says click transform, click compute variable, type 8. So the first thing you're doing, your target variable is you're creating a variable named 8, okay, or which stands for attitude toward eating. And you see this, there's an equal sign, and then I'm going to click in the box where it says numerical expression. And let's see, it has you clicking on all. Oh, it's going to have you put in a function. But I want to show you a different way to do it. It's having you put in the sum function, which is one way of doing it, but I want to show you another way. It's having you sum 801, 802, ATE01, ET02, and so on. Okay, so another way you can do it, since we are doing a sum, right, is I find the variables that I want to use. There's ATE01. I highlight it, and then I click this arrow to move it to this box. See, I moved that variable name over to this box. And then I can put a plus sign. Where's the plus? There's the plus sign. Plus ATE02, move it over, plus ATE03, move it over, plus ATE04, move it over, plus ATE05, move it over. Okay, so this ATE variable, this 8 variable is going, we're saying, SPS, would you create a variable named ATE, or 8, that is 801 plus 802 plus 803 plus 804 plus 805. And then you go down and hit OK. And so it says the command was compute, and it created that variable. Let's double check and see how that variable looks. If you go to your variable view, you should see 8 at the bottom. Okay, that's the new variable you created. If you go to your data view and you slide all the way over to the last column, there it is, 8. And it should have summed up all of the values from 801, 802, 803, 804, 805. Let's check for this first person in this data set. We have 0 plus 1 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0, and the sum of that is 1. Okay? So that's the, a way to do it using just the plus sign. Now let's go to variable view. I'm going to highlight this variable that we just created, and I'm going to delete it, and let's do it the way they recommend in our textbook. I highlighted it. I want to clear. Oh, you know what? Let me highlight the entire row. Okay. This is I'm in the variable view of my data editor. I just highlighted the row for the variable we created. I'm going to go to Edit and Clear. Or you can, hit the delete key on your keyboard. So now let's do it the way they suggest in our book. Data. No, I think, no, transform, because we're computing a variable. Looks like data we do with variables that already exist. Transform, we're either changing a variable that exists or we're creating a new variable. Yeah. Okay, so our target variable, again, we deleted our old 8 variable, and let me delete this stuff that we had in our numeric expression box, and we're going to do it the way that is suggested in our text, and that's using a function called sum, which is the exact same name as the function in Excel. So if we click on the function group, we click all, we get a list of all of the functions that are available, and we're just going to slide down and find sum. There it is. And we're going to move this function up to our numeric expression box, and it's asking us this question mark. Okay, it says, what do you want to sum? So now we're going to, I'm going to go to 8 and click the arrow, right? And then it looks like these should be separated with commas. All right, so I type a comma. I don't need this extra question mark. It was just a placeholder there. The SPSS reminded me that I need to put in variable names. Okay, I'm clicking 802 and comma. 803, move over, comma. 804, move over, comma. 805, move over. Okay. Now, one of the things about the sum variable, it returns the sum of its arguments that have valid non-missing values. Okay, and you can check this out. Sometimes if there's a missing value, if you just do the variable plus variable plus variable, it won't calculate that if you have even one missing value. So in this case, let's see what it does. I should be able to hit OK, and there we go. Now it shows that this is the command that we selected through our dialog box. And let's look at the data file. Click over here. Here's the data file. The data editor. There's our variable. Okay. 8. Let's look at the data view. And again, our first person had, for the first item, had a score of 0, then 1, then 0, 0, 0. The sum of that using the sum function is 1. Does this have any missing data? Nope. This file doesn't have any missing data. It'd be interesting to see what happens with missing data. Okay, so now that's how we were able to create an overall scale from variables with the same metric, and where we did not need to reverse scale. Okay, so the next part of this lesson talks about how to do reverse scaling. I'm not going to do that with you right now, but it's there for your needs. The next section talks about like creating an index. a scale from variables with different metrics where you don't need to reverse scale. And in order to do that, you want to get everything on the same scale. So what you can do is it tells you how to create standardized values. Now we know that standardized values are the particular value divided by the standard deviation, and so it's calling the new variables Z, like Z-skip and Z-diet, as they're Z-scored variables. So they're standardized by dividing by the standard deviation. Okay, total scale scores, it's summing them, different metrics and reverse scaling. Okay, so these are all options for oh yeah, here's some missing data. Let's see. Total hunger score for students with no missing ratings. I'm on page 94. For students with no missing ratings, you simply sum the 4 ratings. For students with 1 missing rating, it would take the mean of the 3 non-missing ratings and multiply it by 4. That's awkward. 4 times, but it tells you how to do it. And that deals with the mean. So it looks like the mean function, if you do mean.3, that tells SPSS you must have at least 3 non-missing scores for it to compute the mean score for an individual. That's handy, okay? So you might want to have at least 2 scores from out of 4 possible scores. You might want to have at least 2. And so that's handy. So I'm looking at 90, page 9, the top right corner of 95. I'm going to remember that for a research project I'm working on right now. And then, okay, creating a qualitative variable from a quantitative variable is starts on page 96. And that, what they're calling a qualitative variable is what we have been calling categorical variables. Okay, so categorical variable. So creating a categorical variable from a continuous variable is what they're talking about, and that can come in handy. For example, if you were looking at student test scores and you wanted to know, okay, well, how many students scored high, medium, or low? That's what you would be doing. And this is transforming and recoding into a different variable. You click on transform and you recode. Okay, that's right over here. Transform, recode into a different variable. I recommend always recoding into different variables unless you've created a variable specifically to hold that new information, those new categories that you're creating. Okay, I do not recommend like changing your original variables, because if you make a mistake, it's really hard to undo the changes that you may have made. Okay, so let's see. And so it goes through the steps for doing that. So those are just some of the things that you can do in terms of creating variables. Now, what if we want to get some descriptive statistics on these variables? Let's take this new variable that we just created, this 8 score, the positive attitudes toward eating score. And so it looks like it can range, I see a high of 5 and a low of -5. So if we go to analyze descriptive statistics, there are a couple of different ways. Let's say we want the mean. There are a couple of different ways we can get it. Analyze descriptive statistics. Let's click on frequencies and see what happens. Okay, we get this dialog box, and we're doing the variable 8. So I'm going to highlight that variable and move it over. Now, if I click on statistics, it's basically asking me, so Dr. Campoli, what statistic would you like? And let's say I want the mean the median, and the mode. And in terms of dispersion or variability, let's have the standard deviation. I would like also the range and the minimum and the maximum, let's say. And it can also give you the quartiles or percentiles. Those can come in handy. All right, but that's what I want for now. And then this button is saying, hey, would you like some charts? You can say no, bar, pie, or histogram. I'd like it. Let's see what happens if I click histogram. I'm going to hit continue. Format, I almost never change that. Continue. Style is the style of the table you're going to get, and we're not doing custom styles, so you can just hit cancel there. Bootstrapping is a way of estimating, okay, different values, and it can come up with estimates that are a little bit more accurate, but they're also beyond the scope of this course. So don't worry about bootstrapping. All right, so I'm going to hit OK. And it's going through and it's doing the things that I selected. In terms of statistics, it looks like there's a mean for our H variable of 0.525, a median of 1.0, and a mode of 1.0. The standard deviation is 2.1, and the maximum and minimum are just what I thought from looking through the data, -5 and 5, which is a range of 10. And so then we get our, basically this is a frequency chart, okay? For each value, it's showing us how many of the participants in our survey selected that, have that average. Our 8 was a, well, it was a sum, right? Have that sum score for their 8 score. And here is a histogram that looks pretty symmetric, unimodal, and it looks a little bit peaky. It's not a mound shape at the top. So I would say it's a bit peaky, unimodal, symmetric. Yeah. Okay. So that's one way of getting your descriptive statistics. Another way, analyze, and then there's this descriptive dialog box. And again, we're doing this 8 variable, which was the sum of the 5 ATE scores. Options, again, it's asking us what we want. Notice there are fewer choices. It doesn't ask us about the median. It doesn't ask us if we want the mode. There are fewer choices with this descriptives dialog box. We can get the mean, we can get the sum, standard deviation, minimum, maximum, and so on. Now, you can put more than one variable in this variables box at a time, and that's why it asks you how you wanted to organize them. Don't worry about style, and definitely don't worry about bootstrapping. And we'll hit OK. Okay, so now we have basic information. Our number of participants, the minimum value, the maximum value, the mean, and the standard deviation. Okay, so that was the descriptives command. And finally, there's this compare means command. And I'm going to compare means and means. And it's asking us for an independent variable and a dependent variable, okay? So that is, if you have students that are in more than one group, your independent variable would be what group they're in, and their dependent variable would be whatever you're assessing, like some kind of score. All right, because you're seeing if their group membership relates to the score that they got, okay? We're not doing that yet, but we will be in future assignments. So I just wanted to show that box to you. So there you have it, a couple of different ways for getting descriptive statistics using SPSS. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Talk to you later.